The entire classroom froze into silence, not out of respect, but sheer disbelief. At the front of the room, an 11-year-old boy stood clutching the shattered remains of his violin, the only gift from a father he could barely remember. The teacher, still seething with anger, made no effort to feign regret. Micah Ellis said nothing. He simply gathered what fragments he could from the cold tile floor of that elite academy and walked out of the room in silence. What no one knew, not the teacher, not the snickering students, was who was about to walk through that door. And when it happened, their world would tilt on its axis. This is a story of overlooked pain, unseen talent, and a silent vengeance that would come not with anger or threats, but with something infinitely more powerful. The truth, played through the hands of a child. Clutching his violin case tightly, Micah climbed the steps of the towering new building that smelled of fresh paint and wax. Everything felt too new, too polished, except the familiar weight of fear in his chest. New York City was loud, immense, but there he was, a small boy with a colossal gift, invisible to the eye. He and his mother, Dana Ellis, had just moved there. Dana had earned a major promotion, one no one expected a black woman from a modest background to achieve. And with that came uprooting. A new neighborhood, a prestigious school, a fresh start. No one warned Micah how much starting over could hurt. Dana tried to make it easier. She selected his uniform carefully, packed his favorite breakfast, combed his hair with practiced tenderness. But inside, she was as nervous as he was. She masked it with a smile. She had to be strong, for both of them. "It's only a matter of time, sweetheart," she said during the drive. "You'll make friends." Micah gave a half smile. "The kind you give, so your mom doesn't worry." "I know, Mom." The school was enormous. Gilded gates, gold-lettered signs, luxury cars dropping off polished children with designer bags. To Dana, it looked like another world. When Micah entered the classroom, the room hushed. He felt their stares, curious, judgmental. The teacher glanced over. "You must be the new student, Micah, right?" "Yes, ma'am," he replied. She motioned to a seat in the back. "Sit there." No welcome, no smile, just dismissal. Micah lowered his gaze and took the seat by the wall. But he was not just any boy. He carried a gift inside him. The violin had been his voice. Since he was little, he had learned it by ear, by soul. When music class came, each student was asked to play. Micah waited quietly. One by one, the others fumbled through clunky pieces. When it was his turn, he removed the battered violin, placed it on his shoulder, and played. No sheet music, no help, just him and the sound. The melody was soft, aching. The room fell still. Even those who didn't want to listen held their breath. The teacher, Ms. Halpern, watched with a cold expression. When Micah finished, she simply said, "Improvising is cute, but we value technique here." She turned away. Micah's heart sank. He packed up the violin, returned to his seat, and vanished into silence. Days passed, harder each time. No one sat with him. No one invited him to lunch. He answered questions, but it was like he was invisible. Still, he endured. Each night, after pretending to Dana that all was well, Micah crept down to their apartment's basement. It was damp. It was dark, but it was freedom. There, he played for hours. Everything he felt, everything he couldn't say, poured through that violin. Sometimes Dana heard it through the pipes. She knew, even though Micah never spoke of it. She knew. Ms. Halpern treated him differently. With others, smiles and encouragement. With Micah, coldness, dismissal. During rehearsals, everyone was assigned a solo. Micah practiced endlessly in the basement. But when he played his solo, Ms. Halpern crossed her arms. "This isn't street music, Micah." Laughter followed. The jokes escalated. "Play some hip-hop on that thing, Micah." "Careful, that's probably stolen." Micah stayed silent. He'd learned that answering back only made it worse. At home, he lied. "How was school?" "Good, Mom." But Dana saw the truth in his eyes. Dark circles. No music. The silence hurt more than sound ever could. One night, she came home early. Micah wasn't in his room. She found him in the bathroom, playing so softly. It sounded like a heartbeat. Tears streamed down his face. She didn't interrupt. She leaned against the door and cried with him. The next day, she demanded a meeting. Ms. Halpern said, "Your son lacks discipline." Dana stared into her eyes. "No, my son is heart. Maybe you just can't hear it." After that, something shifted in Micah. He practiced again. He smiled again. Then came the news. He was back on the recital list. Hope bloomed. But the day of the show, Ms. Halpern pulled him aside. "Your solo is canceled. Priority to the trained students." He said nothing. He left the stage. Dana, waiting in the audience, noticed he never came out. She stormed backstage. They said last-minute changes. She saw through the lie. The next morning, she returned to the school. Not as a mother, as a federal civil rights investigator. They had underestimated the Ellis family. The fallout was swift. Ms. Halpern was put on leave. The headmistress resigned. But Micah's story wasn't over. One Tuesday, during music class, he sat by the window, violin in hand, and played. Not loudly, not for attention, just for himself. The melody floated through the halls. Like a prayer. Students stopped. Teachers paused. Even the janitor froze. Micah's music said everything his voice could not. When he finished, applause erupted. A visiting director from the Manhattan Academy of Music stood at the back, speechless. "We'd be honored to offer you a full scholarship." Micah's jaw dropped. Tears welled up. The whispers, the cruelty, the silence shattered. His debut was electric. The world watched. The internet exploded. Injustice had tried to silence him. Instead, it amplified his voice. Micah stepped onto the stage, violin polished, suit pressed. He played for every child, ever told they were not enough. He played for his mother. He played for himself. And this time, the world listened. If this story moved you, imagine how many real stories go unheard. Stand with the unheard. Stand with the unseen. And if you believe in the power of truth, like, share, and subscribe, because someone out there needs to hear this.